Hi, you guys. My name is Xanthia Joyce, and after a decade working in veterinary medicine and now being a nursing student, something happened that very rarely happens. I had a first. I placed my first drum line, and that's what you're going to see in today's video. This is my first, so it is not an instructional video. It is more a why and what's going through my mind as I'm placing this drum line. And at the very end, I'll give you my thoughts on drum lines and would I reach for them over a central or a pick. So a lot of the work that goes into placing drum lines, central lines, pick lines is going to be the prep work. So that means making sure that your patient is adequately sedated, has pain management on board, as well as is prepped aseptically. So we decrease the likelihood of infection because most of the time these patients are already compromised as is. So you see me placing these sterile gloves after aseptically prepping the site. At this point, I am now going to look over my kit, and for this drum line, I have a 20 gauge IV catheter, which is a little bit different than a central line because, yes, you do place an IV catheter to place a central line. But then once this 20 gauge is placed, I am then going to thread the actual drum line on the inside of the catheter, which is different than a central line. This is then going to advance in, and you'll see it goes all the way up to the hub, at which point it gets screwed in, and then the guide wire is then removed. It's a lot thinner than central lines, I feel like generally are. And so here you'll see me connecting my T port. I did choose this one because the other T sets that were available didn't have the lure lock capability. So now you'll see me here. I'm taping in my drum line. Now, here's where I'm not the biggest fan of drum lines. They are very narrow because they have to be even more narrow than the catheter that's placed. So it's a 20 gauge. So even smaller than that is the drum line. So it's about a 22, which is just a very small diameter to place for something that you want to be using for sampling, which is why I'm not the biggest fan for that reason. But if it's all you have, it's what you have. So you see here that I'm confirming that I'm getting blood flow. And this one was extremely positional, but this patient was also febrile and incredibly sick, and ended up later on, we found out, being in multi-organ failure. So you'll see me here untaping his drum line because I want to make sure this is as accessible as possible. And so I'm going to make sure it's in a good position before I then go ahead and retape the drum line where it is flowing as well as it can be. And so you'll see me here, I'm getting a sample, I'm making sure that it's flowing well, and then I'm retaping it here. Now, this is always a possibility. I do not like it when people try and give us a timeline for how quickly to do something. Now, I do pull back blood because I want to make sure that after flushing it, all of the blood is not heparinized. And then I pulled my sample, and now I am going to go ahead and use pulsating flushes on this to go ahead and clear the line so that there is no blood sitting in the line and potentially causing a clot. And because I have two ports, I do go ahead and do that with both of them so that they are both clear. Again, we don't want any clots to build up in our line. That is how you can potentially have an embolism, especially when it is something that is getting a little bit closer to being near an artery. We do not need a clot, and that's what's happening here. And there is some resistance, but it's not due to the line itself not being patent. It's due to the fact that the line itself is so narrow. And the last part for any central pick or drum line, you want to go ahead and bandage that site up. We don't want access to the outside world when we have more central access in the sense of a artery, because that is how you get potential infections. Bloodborne infections are not cute, so you'll see me bandage everything up here, and then I go ahead and place my last pieces of tape so it's not just secured to his leg, but also having the ports secured to the bandage. And that's about it.